At the intersection of true crime and real estate, you'll find Crime Estate. I'm Heather.
And my name is Elena. As real estate agents and true crime junkies, we view crimes through a different lens.
So walk through the door of some of the most notorious true crimes with us and discover how sometimes the scene of the crime has its own story to tell. Well, hey, y'all. Welcome to our very first episode of 2026. We are excited you are joining us for another year of Crime Estate, where we, of course, explore true crime and the house or the property where the crime occurred. I'm Heather, and along with my co-host Elena and our producer Melanie, we end each episode by asking, would you live there or would you list it? And new this year, you guys can weigh in on the same question.
That's right. Happy New Year, everyone. We're excited to engage with you more this year. So make sure you are following us on socials, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, and yes, even TikTok. And let us know in the poll if you would live there or if you would list it.
Love it. Or vote right here in your Spotify app or on our socials.
That's right. Well, before we dive into today's story, I should comment that you might hear a little bit of the lawn crews outside. We've been sitting here for, like 30 minutes thinking they'll wrap up, and they haven't. So if you hear a little bit of background noise, it's just, we're picking up all the leaves and getting ready for spring around here. So
it is a warm day. So yeah, it is full on winter here, but it is a little Dallas.
Texas winter.
Yeah. So we're starting the year with a story that's been in the headlines over the holidays, though I think it was probably overshadowed by another story that we'll eventually cover, the horrific murders of Rob and Michelle Reiner in Brentwood.
Our longtime listeners know that I have family that live in LA and work in the entertainment industry. And, honestly, we're all huge movie buffs at my house, and we talk about movies amongst the three of us a lot. And my son is a senior in high school, and he is currently applying to school for film right now. As we record this episode, and as I've told my friends, it's a slaw. We're going to be dealing with film school applications for the next 5 months. But so this felt more personal than it honestly really is. And it is a huge loss for that family and the industry.
100%. Did y'all do a Rob Reiner movie marathon over the holiday?
We watched the two boys and I, when Harry Met Sally, the first night afterwards, and which can be a little weird with your teenage boys.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
I don't want to judge, but I was thinking that. But
no,
did you get up and just go to the kitchen for a glass of water at certain scenes?
People who know me well know I get really embarrassed in embarrassing scenes, so I go so. But no, I mean, it really is good. And so we will be watching more. I love Rob Reiner movies.
We watched The Princess Bride, which I have probably seen no less than 100 times. It's one that we had on VHS growing up and just watched over
I
and
totally
over.
forgot about.
I've never seen that.
Oh,
What?
I know.
Who are you?
I know.
Okay, this weekend, because your boys would probably love it. It's a good, teenage boy movie, too.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It
Even though it's called The Princess Bride.
Okay,
Or Princess Bride?
No, The Princess Bride.
Okay.
Yeah,
Princess Bride.
It is a great movie for you to watch with your boys. It's funny. It has a lot of comedians in it that you or they might recognize. It is taken from the perspective of a boy. So even though it says princess, it's probably more boy oriented.
Okay.
I mean, I know Heather's son would love it because there are swords in it.
Swords. Yeah. No, that's a great one. So anyway, I think it was a lovely way to honor all of his just prolific work, to sit down and be like, oh, let's watch this movie. So anyway, so the news of Rob and Michelle Reiner's death broke on Sunday, December 14th. And the next day, on December 15th, the subject of today's episode, Brian Walshe, was convicted of murdering his wife, Ana Walshe. But I want to rewind and sort of start at the beginning of Ana and Brian's story. Now, Ana was originally from Serbia, and she immigrated to the United States in 2005 and started working in the hospitality industry. So reports I read say that she began working in hotels. She started as a housekeeper and then sort of worked her way up to a server at the hotel restaurant. later a reservations manager, going on to eventually earn her master's degree in hospitality management from Cornell.
It's impressive.
It's super impressive.
And Cornell's School of Hospitality is, I think, one of, if not the most well-regarded schools.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's highly, I mean, it's obviously an elite university, but particularly their hospitality
Interesting.
school.
So Anna and Brian met when she was working at the Wheatley Hotel in Massachusetts. And this isn't one of those like big box hotels in the middle of a downtown area. The Wheatley is a 5-star hotel listed on the National Register of Historic Places. We're showing a picture of it now on YouTube, and of course we'll have it on our socials, but it's incredible.
Gorgeous. The hotel's gorgeous. Almost looks like a palace.
Yeah, it does.
I bet Anna felt like she was living in a real life fairy tale meeting Brian there.
Yeah, I bet so. One of her longtime friends from DC, Carrie Westbrook, said, Brian was flashy and showy, and that's what Anna liked about him. He appeared to embody the things she wanted. It was almost like she had a mental vision board for the house, cars, family, and lifestyle she wanted, and she thought he could provide it. Now, Brian had actually really built this image of himself as like a big deal in the restaurant world. He wasn't a chef, but he was known for like being in the know on like the best restaurants and the best chefs. He wanted to be known as a whale, you know, that guy who will drop like insane amounts of money at some of the top restaurants. And he sort of pulled that off. One former friend from the industry said that he first met Brian on a night when he racked up a $6,000 tab at the restaurant. But when the check came, there was like some sort of credit card issue. And so Brian left his, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Breguet watch. Do you guys know what that is? It's like I think it's Swiss. It's a very fancy watch.
It sounds like one of those.
He left this watch as collateral. Like, I'm sorry I didn't pay my $6,000 tab. Keep my watch. I'll come back tomorrow and settle up. And so when he comes back the next day, he paid in cash and he threw in just like an extra $2,000 just to sort of smooth over the awkwardness
nice.
of the situation.
That was nice of him.
Yeah. Can you imagine a $6,000 tab at the restaurant?
No, that's insane.
It's insane.
I mean, I like food. I like drinks. I have never gone anywhere near that.
John and I went to a really, really fancy Dallas restaurant about a year or so ago, and it was just the two of us. And there was this huge table next to us, and they just kept ordering more wine and all the food, like probably like what this guy was doing, right? Whales. I guess they were whales. And so our check came, and they brought us the check for the other table.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I am so bad about just like giving my card and not even really looking.
Right.
Thank God John looked. The check was $3,900. And I was like, oh. And so I waved the server over and I was like, this isn't ours.
I mean, I thought I was bad a few months ago when we went to a fancy steak place. And honestly, we didn't even order very much. And on the wine, I had kind of pointed at one wine and then they were out of it. And they were like, okay, but we have like the next year or something like that. And I was like, okay, because the wine that I had pointed was reasonably priced for this restaurant. And apparently the 1 year different wine was not reasonably priced. Now, it was not anything crazy, but we were like, I would have sat there and savored this wine a little bit more if we knew if it was another $100, more expensive.
I actually think that's not cool because I've had that happen a couple times and they're like, oh, we're out of that, but we can do this one instead. And I often now ask, like, is it comparable in price?
Oh.
I mean, yes.
Without, like, I feel like that's a way to ask about the price without being like, well, what does it cost?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But their language for comparable and mine are different. I'm talking like $20.
Yes.
And they're like $100.
Well, you're not a whale.
I'm definitely not.
I mean, I like wine. I will spend a decent bit, but I am not going to be spending like several $100s, let alone thousands of dollars.
No. Well, this like one-time situation was not a one-off for Brian. Okay. He did this kind of thing all over the time. A friend said that Brian once took them to Charlie Trotter's in Chicago. I haven't been there. Have you?
I've not been there.
You're the Chicago expert, Elena.
No. I've definitely heard. Yeah, I've definitely heard of it, but it's not what you're bringing your boys to.
He bought a $25,000 bottle of wine, like it was no big deal. While he was at, it is so stupid, like the worst way to spend your money. He'd insist on chef tasting menus everywhere, even if the restaurant didn't order a chef tasting menu. And at one point, he literally ordered every truffle at Du Ave. It was so over the top that the local food writers wrote a story about him ordering every truffle.
I mean,
it's crazy.
I'm literally rolling my eyes because that is just showy and not someone who is actually food oriented, or someone who's really actually food oriented is going to the cool dive bar or dive places, and then occasionally going to a Michelin star restaurant. But like they're more discerning than this.
Yeah. And really that was sort of like his whole persona. It wasn't just about restaurants. Like he wanted to come across as worldly and sophisticated, whether it was food or travel or art. He knew wine, he knew art. And anytime someone mentioned an upcoming trip, like anywhere in the world, Brian had recommendations. Here's where you should stay. Here's where you should eat. Here's what you shouldn't miss. And he also seemed to have this ability to pull off reservations that most people can only dream about. He would hop on planes to eat at places like Noma and Copenhagen, and even a Noma pop-up in Tulum.
I have to admit, I really wanted to go to that. Okay, now I'm hearing myself in the headphones and I'm realizing what I'm saying, but I was aware of that pop-up in Tulum and I did really want to go to it.
Okay, well, but you didn't.
But
I
didn't
just grab a private plane and head that way.
No.
So from the outside looking in, he looked like somebody who was living this very glamorous high roller life. So like you said, Elena, you can imagine their relationship really looked like this fairy tale. But before the two married in December of 2015, there were already problems in their relationship. In 2014, Ana went to the police and told them that her boyfriend had threatened to kill her and her friends. Now, she didn't specifically name Brian as her boyfriend, but at the time, the two of them were dating. And when Ana decided later not to cooperate with the police investigation, it was just sort of dropped. Now, after their wedding, the two moved into Brian's family home at 225 Beacon Street in Boston, which his mother owned. Now, if you aren't familiar with Beacon Street, it is one of the most iconic streets in Boston. It runs through Beacon Hill, and it's known for its charming cobblestone streets with these gas lanterns. The architectural style is definitely very federal row house style. And it's located right across from the Charles River. I mean, it's quintessential Boston. And while not the property featured in today's story, Elena and I could not call ourselves real estate agents if I didn't tell you a little bit about this property. So it was last sold in 2017 for $6.6 million. And the property description reads, magnificent townhouse opportunity with elevator and 2 deeded parking on Beacon Street in Back Bay. Featuring 6 bedrooms and 7 marble bathrooms, the single-family home has been painstakingly renovated to create a thoughtful combination of 21st century comfort and 19th century grandeur. Gracious entertaining rooms include the formal dining room with service kitchen on the parlor level, as well as double living rooms on the second floor. There is an additional open-concept living space on the skylit penthouse level. The eat-in chef's kitchen connects to a mudroom with parking and patio access. 5 bedrooms are on the upper levels, plus an extra bedroom on the garden level, ideal for an au pair or guest use. This beautiful home is just minutes away from the Charles River. It was funny when you and I were talking about this episode beforehand, you were like, deeded parking. I was like, I wonder if that's on the street. Because parking in Boston is so hard.
Okay.
If it's 2 maybe spots right in front of your house, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. It's just, not something we have to deal with here.
No.
Deeded parking.
Sometimes if you buy a condo, it'll be oh, well, you get parking space 21 in the garage.
Right. Well, it conveys, but it's not deeded to you.
Right. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
So that makes me think it's part of the land in front of the house on the street. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'd be curious. If you live in Boston and know about deeded parking, we want to know the details.
Yeah. Also, I've never listed a house where I had to say or got to say perfect for an au pair.
That's true.
Yeah. I would like to.
2026 goals.
You are I am willing. If you need to have this written in your house description, I will write it for you. Well, it sounds beautiful. So it does sound like he comes from money.
Yeah, absolutely. He does. So according to an article that I read in the Boston Magazine, he let on he owned this house, but really his mom owned it. But he would meet his friends outside. They would be going out to dinner and be oh, just meet me at the house. And then he'd walk out and meet them, or they would drop him back off at the house. He really liked having that Beacon Hill address. And remind me later when I'm talking about some art things that come up to talk about the Beacon Hill address, because that really played into it.
Yeah. And Boston is definitely a blind spot in my knowledge. I've only been to Boston one time. And I did, by the way, just text my girlfriend who lives in downtown Boston and asked her what deeded parking
Oh, good.
is.
Maybe she'll get back to us during the episode.
So if she gets back quickly, well, I'll do it. But even my very minute knowledge about Boston knows that Beacon Hill is creme de la creme.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now, this same article went on to say that the Back Bay brownstone had more than enough space for the young family, plus Brian's mother, but it proved too small to contain both Ana and her mother-in-law's strong and sometimes clashing personalities. In the fall of 2016, Ana insisted that for the first time in Brian's life, he'd leave the nest and his swanky address behind. Could y'all imagine moving in with your mother-in-law right after you got married?
No.
I mean, it was 6,000 square feet.
Oh, yes.
So
Changes things for sure.
but still, like,
6,000 square feet in a prime real estate. I would try and make it work. I think what I would probably have a harder time with it would be like living in somebody else's house with their furnishings, with their, choosing everything in the house. Like where, you're newlyweds and you want to pick out the couch and some art. And don't get me wrong, it sounds like she probably has wonderful couches and art, but it would feel like you were living in somebody else's place versus shared experience about picking things out together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd feel more worried about living with someone that threatened to kill me and my friends.
Oh,
That would be the thing for me. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Fair.
well.
I'm crazy.
All right. So after realizing that they could not all live together, Brian and Ana move out and they purchase a home eventually at 725 Jerusalem Road. And I believe it's Cohasset, Massachusetts. Does that sound right? Mel, do you know?
I have no idea.
We've gotten so many
I know you're really
messages
sensitive
about
this.
people like they're like, stop butchering.
Just say it. Just say it.
Cohasset. We're going to call it Cohasset, a town considered a suburb of Boston. Now, the two purchased the property in 2020 for $800,000 and sold it 2 years later for $1,385,000. But that was the 2020 to 2022 market, right?
Missed that market.
They made a great deal on that house.
Yes. Now, at this time, Ana actually had her real estate license and she was working as an operations manager for a very luxurious team at EXP Real Estate. So another like little real estate tie-in to this story.
Have you ever heard of EXP?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's well known.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this wasn't the only home that Ana sold for a profit. Like she was sort of supplementing the family income by buying properties, renovating them, and selling them. But she had really large career ambitions. This shouldn't be surprising, right? She went to Cornell after moving here from Serbia. Like she's very upwardly mobile and willing to work hard to get where she wants. And so she decided she wanted to move back to DC and took a job with Tishman Speyer, which is a commercial real estate company that specializes in like the development and property management of properties. So different than what you and I do, Elena, because we do more like residential, condos, townhomes, single family houses. This is more commercial where you're buying land and developing it into a shopping center, or maybe your clients build a shopping center and you're helping do the property management of it and finding tenants and that kind of thing. And so the goal was, so she was like, I'm moving back to DC to take this job. And so she used the proceeds from the sale of the house on Jerusalem Road to buy a townhome in the swanky, like Chevy Chase neighborhood of DC.
It's a really nice neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you, Mel. I knew you would have some insight there. And so she was commuting. She would fly into DC for the week and then fly home to the house that she shared with Brian and the boys for the weekend, because at this point, the two of them have 3 young boys. Now, Brian and his mom leased another home in Cohasset after they sold the one on Jerusalem Road. And so, like I said, Ana would just travel back and forth.
So do we know why they they sold their house and went to somewhere new?
We do. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Can I ask something real fast too? Can I ask something?
Yeah.
So the mom's back with them.
That's what they tell the landlord.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
But in reality, she is not living with them.
I feel like she's dropping a little Easter egg right now.
Easter
yeah,
eggs.
gotcha.
So Brian's not working at this point, though obviously as busy moms, like I don't want to understate the work that is involved in taking So here's how this scheme went.
Okay.
In 2011, Brian visited a friend that he had met while attending Carnegie Mellon University years earlier.
And a very good school that I'm learning a lot about college.
You're like our college expert. We're so glad to have you. Maybe we have a whole other podcast on what Melanie's learned about college applications.
No, one of Justin's friends from one of the stars of last year's mock trial team went to Carnegie Mellon.
Oh, the star of the mock trial team.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I love
So
it.
sexy.
All right. Well, this friend that Brian had met lived in South Korea, and his family collected valuable art, including 2 Andy Warhol shadows paintings and a $sign print. I don't actually know what that is, but apparently they're famous and impressive. So somehow Brian convinced this family that he could sell these pieces for them in the United States, and they gave him the paintings to sell, and he brought them back with him.
He must have been really good, like really charming.
Yes, I think he was. I think he presented very well. So now, Brian has real Andy Warhol paintings, which include an authentication stamp from the Andy Warhol Foundation. And he hires a very good forger to recreate these pieces. And then he uses the forged copy plus photos of this authentication stamp to list these forged pieces for sale on eBay. And usually he says something like, hey, letting these go for a steal. We're remodeling the house and need, a little extra to redo the marble bathroom or whatever. I'm just making that up. But he gives like a good story on why they're like letting these go because they want a cash infusion quickly. And people buy these paintings to the tune of like $80,000 each.
Well, that's a bargain.
I guess.
Apparently.
I have to say, if I was in the market for an Andy Warhol painting, I would not be buying them on eBay. I feel like this is one of those you pay, you get what you pay for. You need to go through an authentication, an art service. Like, I mean, I get nervous buying things on StubHub, like tickets on StubHub, like let alone trying to buy something that is multi-thousands of dollars.
But I wonder if there are like some of these, and I haven't done a lot of eBay, but I wonder if there are some of these trusted groups. Like we have some of the Facebook groups around here where people list very posh items. And they might be like, hey, my husband just bought me a new Louis Vuitton, so I'm getting rid of my old one. Do you like my voice? My posh lady voice?
Really good. It was really good.
It feels like your everyday voice.
All right, Mel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so he sells one of these paintings to Ron Rivlin, who is the owner of the Revolver Gallery in California, who, by the way, has the largest Andy Warhol gallery in the world.
Wow.
And so Ron says, like, his interviews were fascinating. He was like, I sent my assistant to pick up this painting, but I was like, I need you to examine it and, report back to me. So Brian and the assistant meet for lunch, and he's got like the Andy Warhol painting in a bag. And the assistant steps away and she calls Rivlin, and says, like, he's wearing Gucci shoes. He had taken a photo of his license and sent it to Ron, and it had that Beacon Hill address. Oh. So Ron was like, this guy lives in a $6 million house on Beacon Hill.
Yikes.
He presented in all the ways where Ron was like, well, this guy has money. Like, probably he does have an Andy Warhol for sale.
Yikes.
Right. So then the assistant gets the painting back, and he immediately knows that it's a fake. And so when Brian won't return his money, he contacts the FBI.
Good for him.
Yeah. And, like the FBI gets involved, and Brian's art fraud scam business is no longer. And with that, he has to sort of come up with like another form of revenue for his family. So when his father, Thomas Walshe, dies, now Thomas is a respected neurologist, and he died on a trip to India in 2017. Brian quickly goes to his beachfront home in Hull, Massachusetts. And once inside, he finds his father's will, which leaves him nothing. In particular, it read, I hereby bequeath to Brian R. Walshe my best wishes, but nothing else from my estate.
That's messed up.
I mean,
do we know the backstory? Okay, good.
Okay, because
okay,
I was going to say, that is hardcore. I mean,
yep. So obviously the two were not on good terms. They were never close, according to friends. But the final straw in their tenuous relationship came when Thomas agreed to fund renovations on a home for Brian in Lenox, Massachusetts. And he was like, you can just repay me at a later time. Probably it was like one of these flips, right? I'm just making this up. This may not be true, but this makes sense to me in what we know about these people. They were buying homes, they were renovating them, they were selling them for a profit. Brian probably said, hey, Dad, can we borrow some money and I'll just give it back to you when we sell the house. But he never repaid him. And various reports I've read list the sum anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000. Now,
so basically his inheritance, he had already taken.
Dad was like, you took my, yes, absolutely. Now at this point, Brian thinks that he's the very first person to see his father's will, which oddly enough was laid on his dad's desk. So I don't know if that was like his practice, if he was leaving the country to like have his will laying on his desk in his office. It's sort of creepy. But anyway, he thinks he's the only person that's been in the house and seen the will. So he tears it up and promptly has himself named as the executor of his father's estate. Now, his father's $700,000 beachfront cottage at 909 Nantasket Avenue was full of valuable antiques and paintings. And Brian, being Brian, quickly organized an estate sale where he sold Morona glass, Persian rugs, an Art Deco platform bed, Chinese and Asian art, countless pieces of jewelry. I think we're showing a picture now of like some of the jewelry that was posted on the estate sale. Other big ticket items in the sale included an original Salvador Dali painting and an original Joan Miro painting, plus his father's car. Additionally, he drained almost $77,000 from his father's bank account.
Was his dad and mother married at the time?
They were divorced at the time. Because remember, the mom owned the house in Beacon Hill.
Okay.
And then Dad owned this like beachfront cottage.
Okay, I'm feeling. Yeah. I'm understanding more because I'm like, why wouldn't the mother be involved?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have sort of a funny like side note for y'all about this. So when we bought this house 12 years ago, it was agent to meet, which is, I don't know if people are familiar with that term, but essentially for all showings, the agent that has the house listed has to be present. And that was odd to me at the time because it wasn't like a super nice house. The value in this house was the land, right? And I knew the agent. And I was like, I'm so sorry to put you out. My husband really wants to see this house. I think it's awful and we're not going to buy it. But, he won't shut up about it. It's probably not a good story for me to tell as a real estate agent. But anyway, we get here and it was agent to meet because he was an art dealer. And he had very high-end valuable paintings in the house, one of which was a Joan Miro.
Oh, cool.
And so during our negotiation process, going back and forth, John was like, tell him we'll take that amount, but that's fine, but they have to throw in the Miro. They did not think that was funny. So anyway, little side note, back to Brian and his Miro. It turns out that one of Thomas Walshe's friends, Jeffrey Ornstein, had been in the house after Thomas died, but before Brian arrived. And knowing like that Thomas and Brian did not have a very good relationship, he took a photo of the will that was laying on his desk.
Super smart.
Yeah, I feel like I'm watching a movie.
Listening
to this.
Also, just a good rule of thumb, like if you have a will, make sure other people have copies of it.
Especially if it's going to be, if you're foreseeing that there's going to be some controversy.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so in February of 2020, the probate court declared that the photo that Jeffrey Ornstein took was valid and another executor was instated. So in case you're a little bit confused about the timeline, because as I was researching the story at this point, I was like, what happened when? Let me give you like a rundown, okay? Just a refresh. 2011, Brian goes to South Korea. He comes back with those original Warhol paintings and some other art, and that's when he kicks off this art fraud scheme. 2015, Brian and Ana marry and move in with Brian's mom on Beacon Street in Boston.
So it's been a while that he's been doing this art.
Okay. 2016, Brian is caught selling the fraudulent Andy Warhols by that art dealer in California, and the FBI begins to investigate. In July of 2016, that same year, Brian and Ana have their first child, a boy that they named Thomas after Brian's dad, who hasn't died yet because he dies the following year, 2017, on a trip to India. In 2018, the FBI places Brian under house arrest for the art fraud scheme. In 2019, Brian and Ana welcome a second son. And in 2020, they welcome their third child, also a son. And in November of 2020, Brian and Ana purchased that house on Jerusalem Road in Cohasset, Massachusetts.
3 kids in 4 years. Then they definitely needed a bigger house.
They absolutely
100%.
needed a bigger house and probably were not excited to live with mom at that point. What's that adage in real estate? It's like diapers, death, and divorce or something like that, or like the 3 Ds as to why people move.
Right.
Yeah. They had a lot of diapers.
Yes.
And those are sort of the kind of buyers that aren't married to those 2020 rates anymore. They're like, it doesn't matter. Just get us a bigger house.
Yeah. We love those people.
Yeah. Yes, we do. All right. So let's fast forward a year to 2021. Brian's finally in court for the art fraud scheme. He pleads guilty. And as part of those court proceedings, Ana told the judge, quote, "When I met Brian, I witnessed his kindness and generosity on many occasions. However, I also saw the level of suffering in his life. He was afraid of relationships and for years did not allow anyone to get close to him, including me. He was clearly in doubt that he could be loved for who he truly was. Brian has been deeply affected by his childhood and relationship with his parents. Brian has a big heart." Now, this is really interesting to me. So up until this point, Ana and Brian thought that Brian would escape jail time for the art fraud scheme. He pled guilty. He was planning to make restitution. And Ana had that like heartfelt endorsement to the judge. Plus, remember at this point, he's the primary caregiver for 3 small children while his wife supports the family financially. So things were like sort of looking up for them. They think they're going to get through this debacle. And then the prosecution learns about Brian allegedly destroying his father's will, fraudulently liquidating dad's assets. And so they're like, wait, let's postpone this sentencing hearing until we can get more information on that. Because if this guy's just done this one thing, that's different than if he's like a perpetual scammer,
Right.
and we need more information now.
Right.
Okay, y'all, so get this. At the time of Ana's death, he had not yet been sentenced for this art fraud scheme crime. Now, a year later in 2022, the two sell that house on Jerusalem Road, and Ana purchases a townhouse in D.C., and Brian and his mom rent the property on Chief Justice Cushing Highway, which is a mouthful, which is not far from where they were living on Jerusalem Road. So they stayed in the same little town.
Gotcha. That's a lot of stealing and legal trouble in a short amount of time.
Yes, it is. But believe it or not, Brian Walshe's legal troubles are really just beginning at this point. While living in D.C. during the week, Ana begins having an affair with her real estate agent, the one who sold her the townhouse in D.C.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
So many real estate tie-ins to this episode.
Sometimes I give a hard time to my friends here and say, okay, you find these stories that are fascinating, but make sure we need to have a good real estate element. And I'm sorry, this story has like real estate elements left and right.
Everywhere. I get a free pass on the next one. Mel. That's what I'm telling you. So according to an article on NPR, Fastow, who is the guy she's having this affair with, said that their relationship quickly intensified from friends to intimate, I say with air quotes, with the two spending time on his sailboat, staying at his home, and taking a Thanksgiving trip to Ireland. He also said Ana felt strongly that she should be the one to tell Brian about the affair, but had not discussed any plans to do so when she went home for the holidays in 2022. In another report from NBC, Fastow testified that he never tried to keep their relationship a secret, that he told others about their relationship, though he admitted that they never socialized with her friends. They did, however, discuss telling Brian about it. He said, quote, Ana felt it was really important that when Brian was to find out about their relationship, that he would hear it from her. She had expressed great concern, and I think she felt it would be a strike against her integrity if he found out a different way, which I can see and appreciate.
I mean, I do think you should find out about an affair from your partner. I mean, I don't think that should be questionable there.
Yeah, so he says that the two of them spent Christmas Eve together with friends and that they had planned to celebrate New Year's together on January the 4th when they were like New Year, new plans. Let's discuss where we want to go. You know how you get wrapped up? Like everybody's in this right now. You're wrapped up in the New Year spirit. Like, okay, what do I want to change for this year? What do I want to like make better? So he's like, we were going to get together on January 4th and talk about our plans for the future. And then he said we had had a number of conversations about what a life together might look like, what merging two families would look like. But I'd always said to Ana that she needed to figure out how she wanted things with Brian and what she wanted that to look like for her life before we could make any commitments or decisions.
So they say the most dangerous time in a relationship is when one person decides to leave the other.
Yeah.
And the other. So that sounds like she's about to do, right?
I mean, I think so. Like, I don't think you're spending Christmas Eve with somebody outside of your family.
Unless you're like in it.
You're
Like,
real
you're
in
doing
it.
this.
And
This is
also, don't you think your spouse probably knows? Like, okay, put yourself in this situation for half a second. You're working in another city, but it's Christmas Eve and you have 3 young boys. You are 100% coming home for Christmas Eve. Unless you are really, like, your spouse is going to think that's weird if you're not there.
I mean, this is weird to me as a woman and a mom, and I know there should not be double standards, but I'm sorry, as a mom, my priority is my kids, and thinking through who I'm spending Christmas Eve with, it would be my kids, right?
Right. That kind of breaks my heart thinking about the thought of not being with them.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think we know if this was like Christmas Eve morning, like maybe they had brunch and then she flew home or something. But it is still the day before Christmas.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you need to be there for like baking the cookies. And
Yeah, the kids are little.
God, I
It's
sound
weird.
so sexist right now.
No,
I don't think that sounded sex. You didn't say that he couldn't bake the cookies. You just said you'd want to be there to bake the cookies.
I would want to be
Yeah.
there to bake the
Yeah, I don't
cookies
think
and
it
like the
sounds like
Christmas magic and creating that Christmas magic and your traditions.
And these are little kids
Yeah.
at this
Right.
point in time. These are
Yeah.
not even our age kids, and we still want to be with our own kids on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to be with us.
Hey, but I mean, they're going to be.
They're going to be. Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I've discovered lately?
Uh-oh.
I cook so much more because my son will come if I have food. So I'm like, would you like eggs and bacon for breakfast? Would you like, I mean, not during the school week. Let's not be crazy. But on the weekends where I'm like, ooh, I made your favorite. He just wants meat, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I made this pasta dish. It has Italian sausage and beef.
I don't want to be that person, but are you cooking it or is Baller Mom Meals cooking it?
Thank you for asking. It's probably about 50-50.
Okay.
We do love Baller Mom.
Okay.
She's the best.
And this is not in the script.
No, it's not.
This is
No.
not.
I'm just like, I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch.
I'm definitely making the eggs and bacon.
Okay, yes.
Thank you,
Okay, that.
Elena.
Yes. Okay, you're right.
Oh, you haven't used any of the Baller Mom kitchens. I like the little egg frittata, like the little.
Ooh, I haven't bought breakfast from her.
Yes. And the breakfast tacos. I mean, there is something to be said about just having a frozen like breakfast taco,
just pop it in.
like ready. So, okay.
Sorry. We do love
Sorry.
Baller Mom
Sorry. Yeah,
Kitchen,
sorry.
who was a sponsor of our podcast for a long time, but is also a good friend, and we just adore her.
And so, Carrie, we really did not put this in the script, but I am really looking forward to having my lasagna tonight from you guys.
Yeah, that's a good friend who knows me. She's like, I know you don't cook very much, but I'm trying because he'll come to the kitchen.
I love
that's
it.
sweet. That's sweet.
But he doesn't like, okay, you'll appreciate this. He's like, is dinner actually ready? Or is it going to be like another 10 minutes?
That sounds like my kid. Yep.
And I'm like, well, it's got to cool. I just pulled it out of the oven. He's like, well, I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do a lot of the 5-minute warning here, 10-minute warning here.
All right. So, y'all, we don't know if Ana told Brian that she was planning to leave him or not in the new year, or if he even found out about the affair. What we do know is that the last time anyone saw Ana Walshe alive was on New Year's Eve 2022. Now, that evening, Ana and Brian got together with Ana's old boss, the guy that had the real estate team at EXP Real Estate. His name, I hope I don't butcher this, is Jim Mutlu. And so, he's this realtor that she worked for when they lived in Cohasset. The family celebrated New Year's together, and they were actually at Ana and Brian's house. Brian cooked for them. He, again, likes to be showy and make a presentation of things. So he cooked, and Jim says that he believes that he was the last person besides Ana's murderer to see her alive when he left their home around 1 or 1:30 early in the morning of New Year's Day.
Okay.
Okay, a couple of things that I was just thinking of. What was the story? We've done it pretty recently where, God, it was a couple and they were having their friends over. This might have been in the 50s, 60s.
Oh, yeah.
And
Who's the physician? Who's a physician?
yes,
Doctor. Shepherd.
yes. And their friends had just been over, and so they were part of the story because they had just had dinner as them. And then the other thing I was thinking of, and it shows all these crimes kind of relate together, was Suzanne Morphew. You know, I'm always fascinated by the more recent example of Suzanne Morphew, who she was having an affair, and we don't know if her husband knew about it yet, or like, and so how that may have happened, been part of the murder.
Right.
Well, and I was actually thinking when I was researching the story, it reminded me of one of the very first ones we did. And I didn't put this in the script, so I'm not going to come up with it. But it was the lady that lived in New York. She was in the condo and her ex-husband lived across the hall.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yes.
And that, I think, was also New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
Is that Colvin?
Yes. Shelley Colvin.
I don't
You're
know.
so good.
I don't know why. Yeah.
Shelley Colvin.
Yes.
That's what it was. Thank you.
And for our listeners, a lot of times we're like, wow, it's really sad that so many of these crimes kind of start blending together. But no, you're
yeah.
good.
Or it's just we're so like, we do so much research and we're so into the story. And then when we move on to the next one, it's like there's not the brain space to keep all the little details. Remember the important like aspects of it, but maybe not the name.
Right.
Which, to Mel's point, is awful.
Right. Yeah. So New Year's Day,
Right.
no one's looking for her.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a holiday. Like she's not supposed to be at the office. Now, according to Brian, Ana says she had a work emergency that morning and she caught an Uber and went back to DC to deal with the emergency. And if she's in property management, that's totally fair. Like there could be a snowstorm. She could have to like get plows out to a facility. Like that's a believable story.
Totally.
And he later commented that it really wasn't unusual for her to work long hours or even days without contacting her family. I do think that's odd because I have a husband that works really, really long hours. But I at least talk to him like via text.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm headed to bed. Love you. Text when you head home.
Right.
Like,
There's something. I mean, yes, your husband works exceptionally long hours. And my husband has been known on occasion to be traveling out of town, weeks on end. But we talk, or at least text, multiple times a day. Yeah. I mean, if you're an engaged parent, and I'm sorry, she has young kids.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was odd.
Right.
So when Ana fails to show up for work on January 4th, the real estate company that she worked for reaches out to her husband first. Like, is she sick? Is she okay? Like maybe she's too ill to call in. And he tells them that he has not seen her since early the morning of the 1st when she rushed back to DC for that work emergency. Probably won't come as a surprise to you all that there was not a work emergency that Ana needed to return for. And over the course of the rest of that afternoon, both Ana's employer and her husband, Brian, call the police to report her missing. Now, that same day, Brian calls Fastow, who remembers the guy she's having the affair with. And Fastow said that, like, when he saw the call come through the first time, he just let it go to voicemail.
I would too.
Right. He said, I had not heard from her in several days. And frankly, I was concerned that maybe he had found out and was calling to confront me. So he was like, send a voicemail. But the second time Brian called him that day, he left a message that in part said, reaching out to anybody you could because Ana hadn't been in touch for a few days. And he was wondering if Fastow had, quote, spoken to her recently. He then apologized for calling and said he was sure, quote, everything was fine.
And you mentioned no one had heard from her since New Year's Eve. Did Fastow think it was weird that he hadn't heard from her?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, he said that he sent her a couple of text messages. Like, he sent her a picture of him and his son skiing and like some other stuff. And he finally did that thing where he just like put the question mark in the text, like, hello, what's going on? And he tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. Okay. But again, like, he doesn't know if, like, did she go home and say, hey, I'm leaving? And they had the big argument. Like, there could be a lot of dynamics at play there. Right. So I don't think he was overly concerned.
Right. Makes sense.
So, okay, at this point, Ana's been reported missing. And the police began their initial investigation, starting with the search of a grounds like around the Walshe family home. And while there, officers observed Brian's Volvo, which had the seats down, covered with a plastic liner.
That sounds super suspicious.
It totally is super suspicious. And when the police come back the next day to like do a further search, the seats are still down, but the plastic liner's gone. And they're like, what happened? He's like, oh, I just threw that away. Yeah.
I do feel like outside looking in, and let's say he's done something to her. Wouldn't you have disposed of any of that plastic before you at all started getting the police involved?
Yeah, you would think. But as smart as he is, he makes really poor choices. We already know this, right? So, but yeah, I think you're right. And of course, he's going to be the most obvious suspect. So the police start piecing together a timeline of events based on what Brian's telling them happened and when. And Brian tells the police that on New Year's Day, he went to visit his mother in Swampscott. I guess she was living in an apartment.
Okay.
I don't know how they went from Beacon Hill to an apartment in Swampscott. I don't even know where that is or what that means, but like,
I kind of like to say the word Swampscott.
So he's like, I went to visit mom, and then we went to the Whole Foods, and I went to CVS. But authorities were never able to find video footage of Brian at either of those stores, nor could he provide like receipts or evidence of purchases at those stores. So they're like, well, let's see what his cell phone tells us about where he went.
That's fun.
It's, yes.
Another Suzanne Morphew tie-in.
Yep.
What's going on?
So they're looking at the timeline from January 1st to January 4th. And they found that he visited several other stores. So they start pulling surveillance video from those stores. At a nearby Home Depot, prosecutors in the trial that eventually follows said that the defendant was observed on a security camera pushing a cart. Items included cleaning products, mops, brushes, tape, tarp, a Tyvek suit with boot covers, buckets, goggles, baking soda, and a hatchet.
That's super stupid.
Yes, it is. And he really doesn't get any smarter. Police find evidence that he went to Home Goods, TJ Maxx, and Lowe's. We're going to play the game where we're like brands that don't want to be on Crime Estate, where he bought towels, bath mats, men's clothing, a squeegee, and a trash can. Now, at 9:30, the morning after Ana was reported missing, cell phone data shows that Brian was circling his mother's apartment complex, and he stopped at the southeast corner where, ladies, there is a large dumpster. When police search the dumpster, they find 10 trash bags containing bloodied items and some of the clothing that Aunt Ana was last seen wearing. In particular, these bags contain towels, rags, slippers, tape, that Tyvek suit, gloves, cleaning agents, and a COVID-19 vaccine card in the name of Ana Walshe.
Why would he do that?
Maybe it was in her pocket. I don't know. But it definitely tied her name to these bags,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, no doubt.
One article I read said that he bought scented candles and area rugs, as well as cleaning supplies and the 20 pounds of baking soda. And prosecutors allege that one of the rugs was meant to replace one that was later found with blood on it in a dumpster. Now,
I'm sorry. He's not sounding brilliant here.
No. So that rug, the one that was recovered from the dumpster, was embedded with blood and a piece of the Gucci necklace that Ana regularly wore. Now, in an attempt to cover up his knowledge of her disappearance, he even sent her text messages in that time frame between January 1st and January 4th, one of which read, "I still love you, ha ha."
The hell is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. But the ha ha makes it so morbid.
It's super creepy.
Yeah. I mean, just "I still love you" would be creepy if you know he killed her and you're like, oh, I'm sitting. The ha ha just makes it like demented.
Well, yeah, and there's 3 exclamation points. I'm surprised you didn't.
I did not point that out. Yeah, it was "I still love you," 3 exclamation points. Ha ha. Weird. So weird. Okay. So fast forward to January 7th. A state trooper who was investigating Ana's disappearance received a ransom note demanding $127,000 in exchange for her return. The note came from a Google email account associated with the username Richard Walker, and read, "We have the so-named Ana Walshe with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up. We have her here with us, and if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back, and we know that the police and the FBI are involved. Good luck finding us."
Okay, but it was sent to a state trooper, so of course the police are going to be involved.
And look, they thought this was like odd right away. It doesn't tell them like how to reach the kidnappers, when they're going to call back. They don't like know where to send the money. They're like, this is not like a real ransom note. If they want their money, they're going to tell us how to get it to them.
Right.
So by January 8th, the day after this, police feel like they have enough for a search warrant, and they search Brian and Ana's home. In the basement, they find a bloody knife, a second knife, and evidence of blood in the basement. Brian is arrested at this point for misleading a police investigation. And look, all this is very damning. It certainly points to Brian being involved in Ana's disappearance or possibly death. But as police continue to investigate, they find the following searches on one of Brian's son's iPads. Okay, I'm just going to like laundry list read these to you. Are y'all ready? So on December 27th, 2022, there's a search for what's the best state to divorce for a man.
Not horrible, not great.
Not horrible. Okay, January 1st at 4:55 a.m. Now remember, Jim, her ex-realtor buddy, left the house between 1 and 1:30 on the morning of January 1st. So at 4:55 a.m., there's a search for how long before a body starts to smell. At 4:58, how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20, how to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a body if you really need to. At 6:25 a.m., how long for someone to be missing to inherit. At 6:34 a.m., can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., so let's just say the last search was at 6:34 and then we jumped to 9:29. His kids woke up. 100%. The kids woke up. He was dealing with the kids. And now at 9:29, he says, what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m., how long does DNA last? At 9:59, can identification be made on partial remains? At 11:34, dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. At 11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? And at 1:21, is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them?
That's insane. And
yeah.
on his son's iPad.
Uh-huh.
That's so messed up.
Well, and we always joke, we're like, with doing the podcast, it's like our search history would be really bad in court. But this is just like boom, boom, boom. It's like he's reading the information and like, yeah, like
story.
The next thing. Yeah. So Brian's actually arrested twice. Remember, the first time he was arrested was for misleading a police investigation. And the second time they arrest him for the death of his wife after like this information, right? So before jury selection gets underway, Brian Walshe suddenly changes course and he pleads guilty to 2 lesser charges. He pleads guilty to misleading police and illegally disposing of a human body. Now, not to her murder, but he says, yes, I did illegally dispose of her body. Even with that plea, the trial moves forward, but it was focused really only on whether he was guilty of first-degree murder, and the trial ended up lasting 2 weeks. Now, prosecutors say that Brian killed Ana on New Year's Eve and that it was planned. They painted a picture of this marriage under like real serious strain. Ana was having an affair that Brian didn't know about. He was already under a huge amount of stress because he had like this art fraud scheme that was going on. He had all these legal problems. But since Ana's body was never recovered, like they couldn't do an autopsy, they couldn't determine an official cause of death. But prosecution argued that was like by design. He didn't want them to be able to find her body for that. And so in closing arguments, the prosecution said that Brian didn't want anyone to ever know how Ana died. So he bought cutting tools from Lowe's and Home Depot, dismembered her body and dumped the remains in multiple trash bins. The defense, though, tried to flip that narrative, obviously. Brian's attorney said Ana didn't die by Brian's hands at all. He claimed that Ana died of like a sudden, unexplained death in her sleep after celebrating New Year's, and that Brian, he was like, he dismembered her body and got rid of it, but that's only because he panicked. He was like, he had this dead person in his house and he was panicked, and he was like, what's this going to do if my kids find out? Like, we just have to get rid of her. If you have somebody dead in your house, you have to just call the authorities.
I didn't think it was
the cover up is always worse.
Right.
But he was worried that with like his criminal case hanging over him, that he was going to lose custody of his kids, is what he said. Now, despite promising evidence that would prove Brian's innocence, the defense never called a single witness. Can you imagine that? Like, there's nobody to call. There's no way to defend this.
Right. Right.
What is this promising evidence?
We don't know because no witnesses came forward. Meanwhile, prosecutors called around 50 witnesses over 8 days, including Ana's friends and coworkers, even that man she was having an affair with. And they never laid out like exactly how they thought Ana was killed, but they focused on the motive, which they described as like this love gone bad situation mixed with these financial and legal pressures. After about 6 hours of deliberation over 2 days, the jury came back with its verdict. Brian reportedly just stared straight ahead as it was read. And in the end, he was found guilty, and the judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole, plus additional consecutive maximum sentences for lying to police and mishandling a human body. So apparently they only asked for like one piece of evidence to review, and they wanted to review details of that rug that they had found that had like her blood and her necklace and that kind of stuff.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I mean, maybe to prove that like if his story is she died in bed and I just had to get rid of her body, then why is there blood on the living room rug?
Right.
I'm totally just thinking out loud, but like,
well, that makes sense.
If your story is right and you panicked, are you cutting a body up on the living room rug with 3 small children sleeping?
Right.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Like none of this makes sense.
None of it makes sense. It's all stupid.
Okay, so let's talk about this property that they're renting on Chief Justice Cushing Highway, the one where Ana was presumably murdered. According to an article in Boston Magazine, the Walshes' home sits snugly in the suburbs, less than 2 miles from Cohasset's charming downtown, and is set back in the woods behind Chief Justice Cushing Highway. A small used car dealership is around the corner with a stop and shop just a 2-minute drive away. Now, the guy who owns this house, because remember they're renting it from him, is now suing Brian Walshe's mother. The homeowner, Peter Capizzoli, rented the house to Diana Walshe starting in March of 2022. And according to him, Diana said she needed the house. She was going to like be recuperating from this surgery. She wanted a place to recover. And so she was planning to live there with Brian and Ana and the 3 kids. She even paid 6 months of rent up front and later extended the lease into early 2023. But after Ana disappeared, and prosecutors say she was killed and dismembered in that house, the owner says everything went sideways from there. He claims the house was seriously damaged, both by what, allegedly happened inside and then by the crime scene investigation afterward. He said there were blood and human remains contamination in the bedroom and basement. There were holes punched in walls, a foot through the ceiling, damage to the attic. Even the pool filter had been dismantled. Investigators used luminol everywhere, which left stains all over surfaces. It left stains in the furniture, in the bathrooms, like you name it. And then he also said that they had left their dog outside and the dog had done some damage, that he had to pull up the wood floors because like the blood had soaked into the subfloor. But then on top of all of this, he's like, now the house is basically unrentable because of the psychological impact of being such a widely known murder scene. And he said it's totally tanked the property's value, which we talk about a lot, right? Like who buys this? Who's going to live here afterwards knowing that this happened, and how does it impact the property? So he is suing Diana Walshe as the leaseholder, saying that she should be responsible for these damages for the loss of rental income. He's also suing his insurance company, which seems like a little bit odder claim. But Diana's like, look, I never actually lived in the house. I'm not responsible for any of the damage. I couldn't have foreseen what was going to happen. So she countersues the landlord, claiming that there was like mold issues and unsanitary conditions. And just to tie this back to our last episode, when we were trying to come up with the name of the YouTuber who does all like the legal analysis, it's Emily D. Baker. And she has like a great podcast YouTube episode on this, where she sort of breaks down like the legal claim against this lawsuit over the damages that happened to the house. So yeah, I don't know. It's just really interesting.
It's super interesting. I think number one, don't put your name on a contract that she lied, right?
Yeah, she absolutely lied. She wasn't living there. We know she was living in what, Swampscott or whatever that place was.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. I don't blame him. I don't think
I don't think so
for
either.
suing.
But it doesn't feel like, I mean, has it as shitty. He owns a property. He rents it to a lady who he thinks he's renting it from. And her name was on the lease. And then like there's damage. Like it was funny, like the lawsuit was cracking me up because there was like, step one, there was like the dog in the backyard. I'm like, okay, I've got a dog in my backyard. Trust me, I know. And then there was like, some pool rocks were thrown in the pool. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And then it was like, and then there was a murder and dismemberment in the house. I'm like, you could probably lead with that one. Like that's probably the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I thought it was just interesting, that he tried to get money because you have to do all that cleaning and you have to bring in specialized crime scene investigator. There could be a whole TV show on the cleaners that have to come in and clean up after a murder.
I'm sure there is. There's a movie, like a fictionalized movie. So certainly there's a...
Yeah. Like there's something kind of funny / crazy about that. And then he's trying to get his insurance company to pay for it, which I guess I would probably start with too. And they're like, oh no, we're not going to pay for anything. So he goes after the woman whose name is on the lease.
Yeah.
All that seems sort of practical.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just risks too with just being in that business, like a landlord, property management business, landlord business. You take risks. Even just being a homeowner, you take risks. Your property value could go down for any reason.
Well, and I often get asked, like in Texas, you have to list everybody who's going to reside in the property, like not necessarily on the lease, but as like a part of the lease. Like they're not responsible for paying for it financially, but they just want to know who's going to be there. And I think that's fair to ask, like, who's actually living in this house? Okay, great. You're paying for it. I've approved, like I've decided you can pay for this, but I need to understand like who else is there. And if you have your 20-year-old son, let's say living with you, you want to Google and find out, like, is this person a felon? Does this person have a drug problem? Like you want to know who's occupying the property.
Right. Yeah. Don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay. So of course I had to find the like Zillow description for this house that as of 2024 was for lease. I don't know if it's been leased since then or not. But it says it's a wonderful 4-bedroom colonial long-term lease ideal, but would discuss other options. This home offers a beautiful great room with a cathedral ceiling and gas fireplace. Plenty of room for any type of use. The open concept kitchen is ideal. The fenced-in backyard with its outdoor deck is a nice private oasis. There is space for an at-home office just off the elegant living room. Enjoy the outdoor shower when you come back from the beach or that morning jog or bike run. Close to commuter rail and the village, this rental has so much to offer.
Sounds nice.
It does sound nice if you can get over the fact that somebody was dismembered in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Heather, there's only one exclamation mark
in the description. I know. Maybe realtors everywhere have been listening to the podcast and they're like dropping their exclamation points. Okay, so it's time for the question of every episode. Like, would you live there? Would you list it?
I'm going to say no on living there, and I would list it.
Would you list it for lease?
I would list it for lease, but I would insist it had to be disclosed what happened there. Okay. I don't know if it's a thing in this state, but I would.
Yeah.
Just morally for myself.
Yeah.
I would not live there because dismemberment is the
That's
line
one of
I
your
draw.
no-nos.
I draw a line in the sand when it becomes either recent children or dismemberment. I mean, those are my
1800 children. It's okay.
yes. Red flags, recentness. No. And I don't know. I mean, like, obviously I'm not a realtor, but this seems like a lot of work to be trying to lease a house where all this has happened. I don't know. Like, it would probably depend upon my financial situation at the moment of whether or not I would spend that time and work in this.
Well, and like, here's the thing. Like, as realtors, we don't make a lot of money on a lease. Like, for the amount of time involved and the amount of paperwork involved, you're really doing it more as a service to your client. Like, as a goodwill gesture, like, yes, let me continue to help you, like, build your property portfolio, those kinds of things. So in terms of listing it for lease, it would have to be like a really good client of mine who I just wanted to help out, not just somebody that called me up and was like, hey, could you lease this?
Right.
Because I think the amount of like weirdo looky-loos and the amount of like screening of applicants you would have to do is well beyond the norm. And that seems like a lot of time.
Right.
Maybe if they owned a bunch of properties that, you're doing this as a favor because you know that, that makes sense.
I 100% would not live there.
Yeah.
No way.
Along those same lines, when you were talking about, I was thinking about it the other way. Would I show the property?
Oh, that's
and I
a
don't
good
think
question.
I would show the property because I don't think I'd want to go in there. I mean, I know as a listing agent, you'd have to go in, but just to go in, and I don't think I would like that. To look at it with those eyes.
Probably wouldn't you say to your clients, like, what's the price where it makes it worth it to live here if you think somebody was murdered here? Like, as their advisor, you're like, I don't want you to overpay for this. Like,
right. Yeah.
What's the screaming deal that you just can't say no to?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was fascinating.
I mean, there were a lot of real estate angles in this one, for sure. And I hope y'all all enjoyed the episode.
I did want to circle back to a couple of things. We had talked
did
about.
your friend get back to you?
Yes. So I had messaged one of my friends who lives in downtown Boston, and what is a deeded parking? And she goes, okay, it means a designated parking spot that's deeded with the house. So when you're buying the house, or you're getting that specific spot. Okay, which sort of like makes sense with what you and I think of, but not necessarily in a parking lot. It, could be outside the house. She said it's worth a lot of money, especially somewhere like Beacon Hill. She said sometimes even the parking spot itself can be sold separately. So not even just with the house, but separately. And she sent me a link to a Beacon Hill parking space that was selling for $750,000.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Just a spot. She said she said obviously that's crazy price, but she said even in her neighborhood, selling a condo that comes with its own parking spot can probably increase the price of the condo by $100,000.
Wow.
That's insane. I have so many questions. That would never fly here.
$750,000 though.
Yeah. I'll have to send you the link to that article. So anyway, I thought that was kind of crazy. So
yeah.
The agent sell that? The agent sell?
Yeah.
I have lots of questions. I have follow-up questions for her.
So shout out Christy in Boston for
thanks, Christy.
Now we're like having more questions.
Yeah.
We'll have to do more Boston stories.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a fun trip to go on.
That would be fun. I want to go to Boston. I've never been.
Yes.
I want to go to Boston.
I've only been once, and it was just for a couple of days. And I definitely I want to go just explore it more.
I have a girlfriend that grew up there during high school, and so we went on a trip with her, and that was super fun because she like showed us around, and she's like, I would still say she's lived in Dallas forever, but I'm like, if you ask like where she's from, Boston,
Oh, and I know who your friend who you're talking about, and I would say, yeah, she seems Boston, even though she's Dallas, Boston.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, we hope everybody enjoyed today's podcast, the first one of the new year. It's going to be such a good year. If you like the podcast and want to support us, help us keep the mics on. We'd love for you to do that. You can buy us a coffee.
Or a cocktail.
Even better, a cocktail. For sure, you can go to our website, crimeestate.com. You can click the link. You can support the show. You can check the link in our bio for any of our socials. Like, we're easy to find.
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
go find us.
For sure. And we definitely appreciate your support. So don't forget, you can vote on whether you'd live in the house on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening and being a part of our Crime Estate family.
If you're curious about today's featured crime estate, you can find additional photos and details from today's episode online at crimeestate.com or on Facebook and Instagram by following at Crime Estate Podcast.
Have a crime estate we should cover? Let us know. Shoot us an email at crimeestatepodcast@gmail.com. Until next week.